You know what's interesting? There was a time when someone's absence felt like a hole in your chest, when you'd reach for your phone 50 times a day just hoping to see their name, when every song reminded you of them, every place you went felt empty without them. But now you don't miss people the way you used to. And if you're watching this wondering why that is, wondering if something's wrong with you, wondering if you've become cold or heartless, let me stop you right there. Nothing is wrong with you. In fact, everything is finally right. See, the reason you don't miss people the way you used to isn't because you've lost your ability to feel. It's because you've gained something far more valuable. You've gained yourself. Think about it. When you were younger, when you missed someone so intensely it physically hurt, what were you really missing? Were you missing them? Or were you missing the version of yourself that only existed when they were around? You weren't whole on your own. You needed them to feel complete. You needed their validation to feel worthy. You needed their presence to feel alive. That's not love. That's dependency dressed up as devotion. You don't miss people the way you used to because you've learned a fundamental truth that changes everything. People aren't puzzle pieces meant to complete you. You were never incomplete to begin with. Those people you used to miss desperately, the ones who occupied every corner of your mind, most of them weren't even treating you right, but you missed them anyway. You missed the potential of what they could be. You missed the fantasy version you created in your head. You missed what you hoped the relationship would become, not what it actually was. You were in love with possibility, not reality. And possibility kept you prisoner. It kept you checking your phone. It kept you making excuses for bad behavior. It kept you accepting breadcrumbs while pretending you were being fed. But then something happened. Maybe it was gradual, maybe it was sudden, but somewhere along the way you grew. You grew tired of waiting for texts that never came. You grew tired of being an option when you deserved to be a priority. You grew tired of pouring from a cup that was already empty, trying to fill someone else who refused to appreciate it. You grew up. And with that growth came clarity, crystal clear, undeniable clarity. You started seeing people for who they actually were, not who you wanted them to be. You started valuing your peace more than their presence. You started understanding that being alone is better than being with someone who makes you feel lonely. You don't miss people the way you used to because you've built a life that doesn't revolve around anyone else. You've discovered hobbies that fulfill you. You've cultivated friendships that nourish you. You've created routines that center you. You've learned to sit with yourself in silence and actually enjoy the company. That's not coldness. That's maturity. That's not being heartless. That's having boundaries. That's not emotional unavailability. That's emotional intelligence. You've realized that missing someone isn't the same as needing someone, and needing someone isn't the same as loving them. Here's the real reason you don't miss people the way you used to. You've learned the difference between genuine connection and emotional attachment. Genuine connection adds to your life. Emotional attachment controls your life. Genuine connection allows freedom. Emotional attachment demands possession. Genuine connection respects boundaries. Emotional attachment knows no limits. When you were missing people intensely before, you were attached. You were clinging. You were holding on to something that was already gone because letting go meant facing yourself. And you weren't ready for that yet, but now you are. You've evolved beyond the version of yourself that needed external validation to feel valuable. You've evolved beyond the version that stayed in situations that drained you because you were afraid of being alone. You've discovered something revolutionary. Your worth isn't determined by who stays or who leaves. Your value isn't measured by how much someone misses you. Your completeness doesn't depend on another person's presence in your life. You are enough right now, as you are, alone. And when you truly know that deeply and completely, you stop desperately missing people who weren't even good for you in the first place. Does this mean you don't care about people anymore? Of course not. Does this mean you won't miss anyone ever again? No. What it means is that your missing has changed. It's healthier now. It's balanced. When you miss someone now, it's because they genuinely added value to your life, not because you were codependent on them. You miss the real memories, not the imagined future. You miss the authentic connection, not the drama and chaos you confused for passion. And here's the beautiful part. You miss them, but you don't need them. You can appreciate what was without being destroyed by what isn't anymore. Some people will call you cold for this. They'll say you've changed. They'll accuse you of not caring anymore. Let them. Those accusations usually come from people who benefited from your old self, the self that would drop everything for them, the self that would accept less than you deserved, the self that would sacrifice your own well-being for their comfort. They miss having access to that version of you. But that version of you wasn't serving you. It was serving them. Your new self, the one who doesn't miss people the way you used to. That self serves you. That self protects you. That self honors you. There's an incredible freedom that comes with not missing people the way you used to. You're no longer haunted by what could have been. You're no longer held hostage by hope. You're no longer imprisoned by the past. You can see someone's name and not feel. Stomach drop. You can hear a song you used to listen to together and just enjoy the music. You can pass by places you used to go and feel nothing but neutral. That's not numbness. That's healing. That's not apathy. That's peace. That's not giving up on love. That's making room for the right love. You don't miss people the way you used to because you've gained wisdom that only comes through experience. You've learned that people can be wonderful and still not be right for you. You've learned that love isn't supposed to hurt constantly. You've learned that the right people don't make you question your worth. You've learned that missing someone doesn't mean you should go back to them. That nostalgia isn't a good enough reason to reopen closed doors. That sometimes the best thing you can do for someone you care about is to love them from a distance. You've learned that closure comes from within, not from someone else's apology or explanation. People will ask you what changed. How did you become so strong? How did you stop missing them? The truth? You didn't become strong. You became tired of the cycle, tired of the pain, tired of giving chances to people who kept proving they didn't deserve them, tired of loving people more than they loved you, tired of being the only one fighting for something. And sometimes being tired is the push you need to finally choose yourself. You stopped missing people the way you used to because you started prioritizing yourself in a way you never had before. Let's be honest about something. Most of the people you used to miss terribly, they're not missing you the same way. They've moved on. They're living their lives. They're probably not lying awake at night thinking about you the way you used to think about them, and realizing that was painful at first. But then it became liberating because it proved that you could survive without them. It proved that your world didn't end when they left. It proved that you were always strong, enough to stand on your own. You just didn't know it yet. You don't miss people the way you used to because your standards have changed. You no longer accept inconsistency. You no longer tolerate disrespect. You no longer make excuses for people who don't make effort. You've learned to recognize red flags instead of painting them green with optimism. You've learned to listen when people show you who they are instead of believing who they could be. You've learned that you'd rather be single than settle, rather be alone than surrounded by the wrong people, rather miss what was than sacrifice your peace for what isn't working. Here's what nobody tells you about self-love. It makes you selective. When you love yourself, you become protective of your energy. You become cautious about who you let into your space. You become unwilling to tolerate behavior that disrupts your peace. You don't miss people the way you used to because self-love taught you that your presence is a privilege, not a given, that your time is valuable, not disposable, that your love is powerful, not something to be taken for granted. Self-love turned you from someone who missed people desperately into someone who chooses carefully, who deserves to be missed at all. Part of not missing people the way you used to is accepting that some chapters are meant to close. Some people are meant to be lessons, not lifetimes. Some relationships are meant to teach you what you don't want, so you can recognize what you do want. You've accepted that not everyone who leaves is a loss. Sometimes it's a release. Sometimes it's a blessing in disguise. Sometimes the best thing that ever happened to you was someone walking away, because their absence created space. space for growth, space for healing, space for better. You know what's empowering? Realizing you're the common denominator in your own happiness, not them. Your joy doesn't depend on someone else's decision to stay. Your fulfillment doesn't rely on someone else's validation. Your worth doesn't fluctuate based on someone else's opinion. You don't miss people the way you used to because you've discovered that everything you were searching for in them was already inside you all along. The love, the validation, the wholeness, the peace. It was always yours. You just forgot for a while. And here's something unexpected. You can actually be grateful for the people you no longer miss. Grateful for what they taught you. Grateful for how they helped you grow. Grateful for the role they played in becoming who you are today. You can wish them well without wanting them back. You can appreciate the past without wanting to recreate it. You can honor what was without mourning what isn't. That's maturity. That's growth. That's evolution. If you could talk to the version of yourself that used to miss people so desperately, what would you say? You'd probably say, I know it hurts right now. I know you feel like you'll never be okay without them. I know you're counting the days, refreshing their social media, replaying every conversation, but I promise you, there's a version of you waiting in the future who doesn't feel that pain anymore, a version who's stronger, wiser, and more whole than you can imagine right now. A version who doesn't miss people the way you do, not because they stopped feeling, but because they started healing. So why don't you miss people the way you used to? Because you've outgrown the need for them to define you, because you've learned to fill your own cup, because you've realized that some people are meant to be remembered, not revisited, because you've discovered that peace is more valuable than presence, that quality matters more than quantity, that being alone with self-love is better than being with someone who makes you feel empty. You don't miss people the way you used to because you finally learned to miss yourself less when you're alone. And that, my friends, is not something to feel guilty about. That's something to be proud of. That's growth. That's strength. That's you finally choosing yourself. And that's exactly how it should be. If this resonated with you, if you're at that stage where you're finally not missing someone the way you used to, drop a comment below. Share your story. Your journey might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Remember, you're not cold. You're not heartless. You're not broken. You're healing. You're growing. You're becoming. And the person you're becoming, they're going to be absolutely incredible. This is Motivation Thrones reminding you your worth was never up for debate and your peace is never up for negotiation. Stay strong, stay focused, stay true to yourself. Until next time.